Well, I've been putting this off for quite some time. This is my 2012 Mercedes S550 W221 with the M278 engine. And I've got, I think it's like 115,000 miles. I bought it when it had 30 or 40,000 miles, and I have never changed the spark plugs, and I'm sure the previous owners didn't change the spark plugs. I also have never changed the air filters, so I'm going to get in here, change the air filters, and change the spark plugs. And good luck to me on that, because the thing that worries me the most are the boots and how they're attached to the spark plugs. But we'll see what happens. A couple special tools that I did get that I never had before are these special pliers to help pull the boots off the plugs. Special spark plug that's kind of a spline plug. It's not a true 12-point. It's a spline plug that will fit on, assuming I have these plugs, a special spline on these plugs. And it will fit right on there. Now I did find that in this socket has some spring grippers in there, so it'll hold the plug in. I'll put some information in the description on where to get these sockets, or at least where I got it. Spark plugs I got Bosch. And just for reference, the torque on the spark plugs is 17 foot-pounds. I'm going to get the hood open and get it propped up all the way, and we'll get started. So we'll start by popping these covers off. Looks like we got to take this one off. So let me get these out of the way, and we're going to change these air filters separately. Next, we got this rubber foamy kind of thing, and that just pulls out, I think. It's got a couple clips on down here, so it pulls off. So it's kind of snapped in here, and I think plastic's getting hard with age. So we'll get these two out of the way. So we've got 4 coils on each side. Of course, it's a V8. And it's also got some gray clips. And you slide the gray clips back to the rear. They don't move very far. So next, to remove the connector, just take the gray part, just push it down just a little bit. It doesn't have to be very far. Give it a little wiggle, and the plug will come off. Push down on the gray part, give it a little wiggle, it slides off. And we'll remove all 8 of those. Now, each of the coils has 2 bolts on it. And they are a special, well, they're not special, it's a Torx socket that's needed. So I've got a number 6 Torx. You can see it's a star bit. And you want to make sure that you have a system where your, it already fell off, that your sockets and extensions stay attached, because if anything drops, you want to be very careful. It's going to drop a long ways. And it's not going to hit the floor because of the pan on the bottom of the engine. And I also have a swivel, 1/4-inch drive swivel, to get to some of these tougher ones. Almost lost that one. Once again, be very careful pulling those out so you don't drop them. And I'll go ahead and remove the rest of these. And there goes my my extension. Just what I warned you to be careful of. It's sitting down there somewhere. Okay, so I'll do the other side, and so now the coils should come out. So I'm going to see if I can get my special pliers in there. All right, that one's broken. So this little project got a little more expensive than I thought it would be. Man, that boot stretches about an inch and it will not come off. And there it is. Wow. So I'm thinking that the correct way to pull this out would be to try and get this on here like this and pull it out. So I'll try that on the next one. This is double hell areas because this plug is actually sitting in there like this. And I did get in here to get a grip on this thing. And then when I pulled, I actually kind of like pried, I snapped this entire tab off. On that one, now I'm breaking all this plastic on here to try and get a grip on this to try and pull this off. This is probably one of those things that the mechanic at the dealer probably has a much better tool and a better idea of how to get these things off. Okay, I don't think I broke anything on that coil. What I did was I pulled it right off the boot itself, give me a little more room in here. Wow. And the problem with that is I busted it up here, and quite frankly, all this plastic's broken. So that was number 2. So number 3, I'm going to try and repeat that and take the coil off first. Get a little screwdriver in there. Pry that boot off those 2 barbs. And off she comes. So with that out of the way, I'm going to try again here to get a grip on that thing and see if I can pull that thing off But I think that the boots are stuck so tight on the spark plugs that they are tough to get off. Very tough. So one more time, and then I'm going to try and work on those other ones. But I think I'm going to get replacement boots for all these coils. Yep, that tab broke off. I got that one off. So it broke part of that tab. To finish getting those bolts off the coils, I went ahead and used a 1/4 inch 6-point socket. And that fits on there pretty good. You can also use a 7, but a 1/4 inch fits a little better. And I also have a little wobble extension. So that helped me get access to the other ones. I don't know what this one is. This is looks like a 3-inch extension. Well, I just got the last one off. It's about 12:30. Gosh, I think I started this around 11:30. I'll have to check the time stamps. But anyway, that's the last one I got off. Didn't break it. It's probably okay. The way I did it was, let's do it this way. Sitting in the car like this, and I got a grip of this, and I pried, and this thing stretched like crazy. And I pried with a large screwdriver to get enough leverage to pull this out. The spark plug's so deep in there that I can't even touch it with my finger. So next I'm going to try and get the spark plugs out. We'll see how that goes. Yes, and it did stay on the it looks in pretty good shape to me. The color of the plug looks okay. And the gap is exactly the same as the new plugs. It's right around 26, 27. It's supposed to be 28, so I might have some gauge error on my part. And there's 2 of the plugs. Of course, the new one, and the one here in the foreground is the one of the old ones. Aside from any optical illusions on length, these plugs are the same length. They got the same thread length, same overall length to the electrodes. This iridium tip is a slightly different shape than this one. The part number that's on the plug is right here on the flange. Part number is the same, except for this one has a R, ZR. All right, so I got the new plug. And like I said, this is the easiest one to get to, so we have to use a different combination of extensions and maybe swivels to get it in. But it's going to go right in here. All right, I've got my torque wrench set at 17 foot-pounds. So I'll go ahead and swap out the other plugs and work them up to 17 foot-pounds. Left my socket down in there. All right, you're going to have to figure out the sequence of sockets and, well, socket and extensions to get your plugs in and out. Now, was to take a new plug, put it in here, and I used a very stubby extension, little duct tape, just to make sure I don't lose my socket in there. And of course the spark plug's not going to easily fall out. It'll easily find the hole, but you can see now maybe you can't see it, that socket is just kind of fallen way in there. You can't really even get your fingers on it. So then I take this to what is a 3-inch overall extension, and I'm going to plug that in. Now that gives me something to turn, and as you recall, it's got a very long thread, so you're going to have to thread it in quite a ways. Fortunately, it goes in pretty easy by hand. The last little bit, it's a little tougher to turn, so I'll put my swivel head ratchet on there. I've gotten it snugged up. Now in this case here, the whole thing comes out, but we're not done torquing it yet, so I gotta get this back in here. Put the ratchet out of the way. My torque wrench. And torque it to 17 foot-pounds, which is not very much. Now this one here, the extension and the socket comes out pretty easy because this is one of the most clearances here. But normally what I do is I got to pull this 3-inch extension off, pull it out a little ways, try to get that 3-inch extension off first while you're holding on to the socket with the short extension, and then this will come out pretty easy. So the extension and socket, drop it in there. 3-inch extension. Get that snapped in. Start threading it in. Ratchet off. And that's how you do it. Yikes, that was quite a job so far anyway. I got all the 8 spark plugs put in, torqued up to 17 foot-pounds, and now I've got to find some of these replacement coil wires, let's call them extensions, and I'm going to replace all 8 of those. So we're going to take a time out and come back to you in a week or so, rather than going. All right, so I took a little time out to order some new, let's call them plug wires. So what I got was this here. Ordered these from Rock Auto. It took, it was a Labor Day weekend, so it took a few extra days, but it was, I think, 6 days, 5-6 days for delivery. And the only thing really missing is the Mercedes part number. This one here is broken. The tab got broken, but the length is right. The bend is about right. There's a little bit of flexibility in here. The connection to the coil looks the same, and the connection to the plugs looks the same. So I'm going to get these all unboxed. There's 8 of them. And I'm not going to put in the actual electric connector, which is that little spring that's in there, and this brass looking pad down there. So that slips right on there. So those all have a very light film of grease on there. Okay, so we're going to want to make sure that this flat here, these two bumps, are all oriented the right way. As you can see, the wires go off in all different directions. There is a steel rod that's in here with just the two springs on each end, so you can actually twist that steel rod within the rubber boot and get these oriented without moving the barbed end. You're just trying to twist the steel rod that's in there. Okay, so they're all oriented the same way, as you can see. And let's go put them in. So what I've done is you can see my fingers are a little greasy, so I put a little thin film of grease on an old plug. And I'm going to put that into each of these plug wires. And that's going to put a little film of dielectric grease on the boots, inside the boots. So I'll do that to every one of these. So this should be one of the easier plugs. This is the first one on the driver's side. So we're going to slip it in here. And it's pretty idiot-proof to get the boot on the spark plug because it's like self-guided. And the trick is we're going to push it onto the plug. And I believe that's on the plug. Yep, because now I can't pull it off. And of course this plug wire is kind of trapped between the coil and the plug, so it's not like it can pop out or come loose. And here's the second one. This is one of the more difficult ones because of the clearance to this suspension tower, shock tower. And it looks like it's gone all the way on because this will just naturally sit almost on its mounting pads. And the trick now is to get these bolts in. They're very long, but we don't want to drop them. Otherwise, we're going to have some trouble finding them down here because they're not going to fall to the floor. They're going to fall into the belly pan. Okay, we've got the first two in. Need to be tightened up, and I'm going to go ahead and put the other 6 in. You don't need to watch all that, but if anything exciting happens, I'll let you know. Okay, I've got all 16 of the screws hand tightened. Now I'm going to finish tightening them up with a small ratchet. All 16 screws are tightened. Now we can put the connectors back on. And we'll start from the back here. You'll hear a slight snap or click when it snaps into place. And then don't forget to put the locks on. Slide the gray forward. And those are locked in place. I'll go do the other 4 on the other. Next are these 2 foam covers. Quite frankly, I can't remember which one went on which side. It almost looks like it's the way it goes on. It's got a couple of almost like snaps or locators here. There are a couple of plastic clips, and they both broke off on this one. That go right here. They're very brittle, and they snap right off. Lost one ear. So it would appear this one goes on this side. This is number 2185. That fits pretty good. Okay, and now the air filters.
This video is getting way too long, and so I did a separate video on removing the air filter boxes, replacing the air filters, and putting the air filters and covers back together again. So you can go watch that on a different video. And it started right up, and I have since taken it for a couple of drives, and it runs really good. I'm sure that most of the improvements due to the new air filters, because the old filters were so plugged up. But anyway, if you want to see some forensics on the plug wires, I did put together a short video on that, on how they kind of get stuck on the plug and what's inside those plug wires. I'll make a separate short video on that. And finally, if you want to hang around, if you remember, I've got to find that socket and extension that dropped into the belly pan somewhere. So I had to get it up on the hoist and find that socket and extension. Thanks for watching.
All right, let's go see if we can find that socket and extension before I go driving down the road and it flies out somewhere. Please be there, and it's not. All right, where the heck is it? There it is.
It's under the other panel. There's my E5 and extension. So now I can button it back up and actually call my spark plug job done. All right. Okay, got that belly pan back up, got my socket and extension back, so that's a success. And that's finally it. Thanks for watching. Watching it to the bitter end.